this is like a box of air. We don't get no news, no talk, no nothing.
DJ Academics and Lil Durk are talking about his strange prison situation over the phone. The young man is obviously going through a lot. But Durk also revealed some information that could have a big effect on his case. Since his detention at Miami International Airport, he has been contesting the case. Let's talk about it privately. Lil Durk entered a not guilty plea to all charges at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, where he is being housed. Accusations in a Los Angeles federal court on November 14, 2024. Owing to the case's complexity, which includes 20,000 pages of documentation and more than 230 gigabytes of digital evidence, his trial was postponed from January 7, 2025 to October 14, 2025. Prosecutors have repeatedly denied Durk bail, claiming that he poses a flight risk due to his planned travels to Switzerland, Italy, and Dubai, among other charges that link him to another on December 12, 2024. The judge rejected a $3 million bond offer from his defense team that included property and home arrest. What has Smirk's life been during lockdown, with minimal jail calls and music releases? In a jail call that was made public online, Durk hinted at his offer to us. Some experts believe Durk made a brave move for such a well-known prisoner when he reportedly suggested refusing PC-protected custody during a call. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, in April 2025, Durk stated that he hasn't heard any pieces from his upcoming album Deep Thoughts since he was released from prison. Behind the wall, Durk is seen discussing his daily routine in a second recorded call that appears to have been made in late April 2025.
Ain't nothing changed, bro. I just been focused on life, my family and stuff like that. I'm trying to learn how to speak Arabic again.
Wait, how you learn that? Like, how do you get to learn that? You got classes?
You said, no, it's a couple guys here that not speak Arabic fluently. So I'm just learning the different words and, tighten up my Arabic, just getting my knowledge.
Listen, interview 135-158. This brief examination of Durk's daily schedule demonstrates his efforts to be productive by learning Arabic from other prisoners and, according to other reports, playing 2v2 to be active. However, not all of Durk's interactions while incarcerated have been sincere. He has reportedly been violating jail regulations regarding the use of his phone. It's being caught on three-way calls despite being instructed not to do so at the MDC in Los Angeles. Prosecutors have used evidence that he disobeyed, which has hurt his chances of being released on bond. On March 28, 2025, Durk wrote, "I wasn't going to put this out. But then I realized the streets led this kind," in reference to his album. Deep Thoughts on X. "It's difficult to be outside with you guys when I drop, but I know I'll feel your love and energy through these walls." The album, which peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, demonstrates that his fanbase is still supporting him in spite of his legal issues. Durk also allegedly spoke from the pen in a phone call that was featured on Hypno Caro's song Where Smirk Go, which was released on November 1, 2024. In the call, Durk called Caro a brother and reaffirmed his loyalty to only his family. But some fans on X said the voice didn't sound like the real Durk. Now, let's talk about the ongoing legal battle, as Durk's team fights to free him, led by attorney Drew Finley, who is renowned for getting rappers out of jams, using lyrics like "Told me they got an Addy Go location, go green light go go," and a reference to someone shouting, "No, no." Prosecutors pointed to Durk's verse on Babyface Ray's December 2022 song Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy, suggesting that these bars were celebrating the shooting. Durk's lawyers argued that the song was recorded in January 2022, 7 months before the August charges, and filed motions to dismiss the superseding indictment and take his detention into consideration. The prosecution's second major argument is that Quando Rondo's "No" from a news clip is part of the song. But Durk's team says this is based on fan-made YouTube edits rather than the original track, claiming that Durk had nothing to do with the edits and that the government failed to link Durk to these altered versions, calling them fake video clips from random internet users. The court cites sworn statements from producers, including Juice Vibes, to support the 2022 shooting, which means the lyrics cannot be about the incident. The bond hearing was approved by Judge Patricia Donahue on May 8, 2025, adding to Durk's legal issues in February 2025. Durk's team filed for his release on bond, offering $1 million in cash from Sony Music and $2.3 million in Georgia property equity. The motion argues that the prosecution's use of this false evidence is egregious misconduct that interferes with the grand jury's protective function. The defense contends that these errors are serious enough to dismiss the entire indictment. And if the case is not dismissed, they have requested to view the grand jury transcripts in order to further review the evidence. In addition to the murder-for-hire case involving Quando Rondo, Durk is also facing other legal issues, including a wrongful death lawsuit filed in Cook County Court against Durk, his business manager F, and a related company, alleging that Durk planned the targeted attack that killed Robinson in 2022, and a second uncharged murder-for-hire plot targeting Stephen Mack, a suspected Gangster Disciples member in Chicago in 2022, which is reportedly linked to the 2021 murder of Durk's brother, Dante Banks, as we await the results of his bond hearing on May 8, 2025, and the trial itself. It is evident that this case is larger than just one artist and highlights the complex relationship between hip-hop artists. In addition, Durk raises more serious questions about the use of rap lyrics as evidence in criminal trials, a practice that is increasingly being questioned by critics, who contend that it disrespects the art form and treats lyrics as literal confessions, unfairly targeting hip-hop artists for their creative expression. The trial is scheduled for October 14, 2025, and will be closely watched by the hip-hop community and legal industry observers. If found guilty, Durk faces a potential life sentence. Mad rappers have been imprisoned for allegedly taking part in street feuds and gang violence. So even though we've seen the movie before, let's take a look at some cases that are comparable to Durk's. Melly, a Florida rapper from the G Shine Bloods, was arrested in February 2019 for allegedly killing his friends and YNW. Let's look at how Durk's case fits into a trend of rappers being imprisoned for gang-related offenses, as well as the bigger picture and legacy at stake. Members Christopher Y. Juvie, Thomas and Anthony Y. Sakazer Williams. The DA claims the bodies were linked to internal gang politics. Melly's first trial ended in a mistrial in July 2023, and he is currently in jail awaiting a retrial in September 2025. Similarly, Durk Melly's case involves accusations of planning gang-related violence, with prosecutors using his affiliations and music as evidence. TK, a Texas rapper linked to the Daytona Boys gang in Arlington, was arrested in 2016 after he and his crew targeted an op during a lick, which led to Ethan Walker's body in 2019. TK was found guilty of murder and aggravated robbery and received a sentence of 55 years in prison. Perhaps the most well-known parallel is that of K-Flock, a drill rapper from the Bronx who is affiliated with the Sevside gang and was arrested in 2021 for the murder of Oscar Hernandez, ALLEGEDLY related to a feud with the rival DOA gang. Flock was found guilty in 2024 and faces life in prison. Young Thug was arrested in May 2022 on charges of operating Young Stoner Life YSL as a Bloods-affiliated criminal organization, charged with RICO and gang-related offenses, and after serving more than 2 years in prison, entered a plea in October. For example, C Murder, a New Orleans rapper signed to No Limit Records, who was part of the Kalia Project's gang culture and convicted of second-degree murder in 2009 for killing 16-year-old Steve Thomas at a club was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of release, despite ongoing appeals and accusations of prosecutorial misconduct. These cases show how gang feuds, which are often fueled by tough talk on tracks and social media, can result in actual violence and serious legal repercussions. Stress how prosecutors frequently use rappers, music videos, and affiliations as evidence, possibly mistaking artistic expression for criminal confessions. Let's now look at the specific feud that allegedly led to Durk's current predicament. The conflict between Lil Durk's Only Family set and NBA YoungBoy's Never Broke Again NBA camp, which grew more intense after King Von, one of Durk's closest friends and an FN, was killed in a shooting outside an Atlanta club in November 2020, are essential to comprehending the events that followed. King Von's alleged assault of Quando Rondo outside the club where Von Lou Tim's man, Timothy Lou Tim, was responsible for the leaks that resulted in the shootings. Tim was accused of murder, but was released in 2021 after prosecutors decided that it was self-defense. A decision that reportedly had Durk and the F camp prepared for war after Van's death. Rondo released a song that may have been me criticizing Lil Durk and King Von and bringing up the shooting. Rondo attempted to resolve the conflict by deeming Durk and requesting that they have a conversation, but apparently failed. In 2023, Lil Durk allegedly hinted at the possibility of smoking NBA YoungBoy in Utah in an unreleased song, which intensified their rivalry. According to industry-related social media posts, Lil Durk attempted to blackball NBA YoungBoy and Quando Rondo on Apple Music, telling the platform, "If y'all are with those dudes, don't be with me." Although there isn't any concrete proof, it suggests that Durk was attempting to cut off their industry connections. Ultimately, federal prosecutors asserted that Durk's desire for vengeance for King Von's death led him to put a bag on Quando Rondo's head, which resulted in the murder. The situation has been further complicated by fan theories, fake news, and edited videos, as evidenced by Durk's defense against the lyric-based evidence. This tragic series of events, which started with competitive bars and social media flexing and ended with him facing life in the feds, demonstrates the dangerous combination of rap beef and real street violence. The beef between these artists reflects deeper issues in drill music and Chicago's gang culture, where getting revenge for fallen homies is often a code that trumps legal consequences. What does all of this mean for Lil Durk's legacy in hip-hop? If found guilty, Durk could spend the rest of his life in prison, ending one of the most promising careers in modern rap. Perhaps most tragically, despite his Grammy for All My Life 2024 and commercial successes, Durk remained connected to F and Chicago street life, a loyalty that many fans respected but others saw as a ticking time bomb. Unlike peers like Chief Keef, who distanced themselves from the block after blowing up, Durk remained connected to a block and its dangers, a decision that may have contributed to his downfall. Durk's legacy has been overshadowed by his legal issues, but his album, Deep Thoughts, released in March 2025 while he was incarcerated, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, demonstrating that his fanbase continues to follow him. His influence on drill music and beyond is undeniable, as his melodic approach to street narratives has influenced the sound of modern hip-hop. Durk's case also raises significant questions regarding the relationship between art and reality in hip-hop, as critics claim that prosecutors unfairly single out the genre by using rap lyrics as evidence, treating artistic expression as a literal admission. As of our most recent information, Durk is still in federal custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, pending his trial on October 14, 2025. And bond hearing on May 8, 2025. Scholars like Eric Nielsen argue that his arrest, in addition to the legal and artistic concerns, misrepresents the nature of musical storytelling. Following his arrest, Broadview, Illinois, retracted an honorary key they gave him, expressing the community's discontent with someone many saw as a success story from the trenches. King Von's death set off Lil Durk's battle with Quando Rondo, which culminated in public outbursts and alleged plots of retaliation, leaving him in federal custody and facing life in prison, while his defense challenges the evidence. His story is a tragic illustration of how drill music's combination of art, street culture, and personal loyalty can ultimately have fatal results. We need to go back and examine Durk's journey from the dangerous blocks of Englewood to hip-hop stardom and how the street life he never completely left finally caught up with him in order to understand how Ciroc's voice ended up in federal custody. Born on October 19, 1992, in the rough-and-tumble neighborhood of Englewood, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods on Chicago's South Side, Lil Durk was apprehended by the Fed on October 24, 2024, at Miami International Airport as he prepared to board a private plane to Italy. When his father was imprisoned when he was just 7 months old, young Durk was thrust into the real world. His mother, a nurse, did her best to keep him off the streets, but as a teenager, Durk joined the Black Disciples gang and completed Paul Robeson High School. By the time he was 17, he was a young father, and the responsibility forced him to take his music career seriously. In 2010, he began sharing freestyles like Lamron Wasted on MySpace and YouTube, generating buzz in Chicago's emerging drill scene. His debut tape, I'm a Hitter, was released in 2011, and he's still a hitter and life ain't no joke in alongside Chief Keef. Durk became a major player in Chicago's drill movement with his 2012 hit song L's Anthem, which he later remixed with French Montana. By 2013, success of Durk's songs L's Anthem and This Ain't What You Want had the majors buying up his phone, and he signed a deal with Def Jam for his group Only the Family. His fourth mixtape, Signed to the Streets, which was produced by Young Chop and featured Lil Ree, was named the 8th best mixtape of the year by Rolling Stone, after bouncing from Def Jam in 2018. Durk really started eating up his 2020 viral moment, which became his first Hot 100 entry as a lead artist. He then appeared on Drake's Laugh, Now Cry Later, and Pooh Shiesty's Back in Blood. Durk's first album, Remember My Name 2015, peaked at number 14 on the Billboard 200, thanks to songs like Me featuring Jeremy. His follow-up, Lil Durk 2X 2016, featured heavyweights like Future, Young Thug, and DJ Loaf, but it peaked lower at number 29, with a $40 million Alamo deal, streaming checks, tour money, and side gigs like Durk Landry Trucking LLC. Durk was able to amass a net worth of $8 million by 2023, making him the most successful artist to emerge from the drill scene. But as he was getting there, he kept getting pulled back by the violence of Chicago, where he was charged with possessing a gun in 2011. In addition to the deaths of his family members, including his brother Dang, his manager, his cousin, and his man, King Von Durk's continued involvement in the streets came at a high cost, even as his career was taking off behind all the hits and sold-out shows. A deadly feud was simmering that would ultimately bring him down. On November 6, 2020, the final straw was the tension between Durk's camp and another up-and-coming rapper named Quando Rondo. His serial number was scratched off, leading to a plea to a lesser charge in 2013. He was booked again with a loaded .50 cal in Englewood in 2019, and he was involved in a shooting in Atlanta, though the charges were dropped. Both sides were reportedly furious after Van was laid down and Durk's 2022 song Aha and Rondo's End of Story were stoking the flames with lyrics about Von's death and threats of getting back. Snee got murked outside an Atlanta club after a fight with Quando. Durk's right-hand man and Rondo's crew Van allegedly ran up on Rondo, and Tim Leaks, a friend of Rondo, released shots that killed Van. Tim was charged with self-defense, but was released in 2021 after the DA concluded that it was self-defense. F's big homie Durk put a bag on Quando Rondo's head on August 19, 2022, offering bread and music industry opportunities to anyone in his circle who was willing to carry out the hit, according to the feds. 5 men, allegedly connected to FF Kevon London, Grant DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and Asa Houston, traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles on a mission to smoke Quando Rondo. They were pursuing Rondo and his cousin, Savia Lupab Robinson, who was traveling in a black Cadillac Escalade, armed with 2 rented whips. The feds have plastic connected to Durk's former manager, who booked flights and hotels for the alleged hitman. Durk's text message to a friend that read, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." Durk's private jet trip to California. With Grant on August 18, 2022, the day before the shooting, and bars from Durk's 2022 song Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy with Babyface Ray that they claim alluded to the shooting. The squad let it spray, catching Lupab but missing Rondo, using, carrying, and discharging firearms, including a machine gun, in furtherance of a crime of violence and conspiracy to use interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death were the charges against Lil Durk. On October 24, 2024, Durk's legal team would later argue that the lyrics were recorded prior to the incident. But after the 5 associates were arrested in Chicago, the FBI discovered that Durk had booked one-way flights to Dubai and Switzerland, as well as a PJ to Italy. The artist, who dubbed himself the Voice of Chicago, is now quietly waiting for a trial that could decide whether he ever sees freedom again. Thank you for watching, and check out the other boxes on the screen for more interesting films. If found guilty, Durk might never touch road again.